Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Prime Minister of Singapore Lee Hsien Loong arrived in the island this afternoon upon an invitation extended by President Maithripala Sirisena. Prime Minister Lee is set to remain in the island until the 24th of this month.
The Singaporean Premier will be received at the Presidential Secretariat tomorrow morning with an official guard of honour and gun salute that will be followed by official bilateral discussions with President Maithripala Sirisena. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said following the bilateral talks with the President, Prime Minister Lee will witness the signing of the Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement. During the visit, Prime Minister Lee will also meet Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and discuss economic, trade and investment cooperation between the two countries. This is the first official visit of a Singaporean Prime Minister to Sri Lanka in 13 years.
The Prime Minister of Singapore will be hosted to an official lunch by President Sirisena and a dinner by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. He will also receive a courtesy call from opposition leader R. Sambandhan prior to his departure.
Trade between the two countries last year was $2.7 billion according to the Singapore government's figures quoted by the Straits Times. This is up from $2.05 billion in 2015. However, in terms of trade in goods, Singapore is not a significant export market of Sri Lanka. In 2015, exports to Singapore amounted to $85 million, or less than 1% of Sri Lanka's total exports, while growth in exports during the last 5 years has been disappointing. As a source of imports, Singapore was Sri Lanka's fifth main partner and contributed to 5% of Sri Lanka's total imports. In 2015, Sri Lanka imported goods worth $923 million from Singapore. With China pouring billions into the island, investing in, among other things, a port and a financial centre, the free trade agreement could be a route for Singapore to further that deficit. The free trade agreement opens doors for Sri Lankan businesses to take advantage of Singapore's strategic importance in global trade. The agreement may also lead to an increase in foreign direct investment from Singapore, which is the fourth largest investor in Sri Lanka. Singapore's economy is nearly 4 times the size of Sri Lanka. Conversely, Sri Lanka's population is close to 4 times that of Singapore. In his memoirs, Lee Kuan Yew, the founding Prime Minister of Singapore, said, quote, Ceylon was a good middle-sized country with fewer than 10 million people. It had a relatively good standard of education, with 2 universities of high quality, a civil service largely of locals, and experience in representative government starting with city council elections in the 1930s, unquote. He went on to say, quote, during my visits over the years, I watched a promising country go to waste, unquote.